just talk about why this redistricting is especially bad for Austin. I have lived in Austin for 4.5 years now, and I have 7 years of campaign experience. So I do sort of know how this is going to affect us from a field and constituent service perspective. First off, there was mention that these maps are compact, but when you look at the districts that represent parts of the greater Austin area, like CD10, CD11, and CD27, those are not compact districts. If you put them in a circle, they would not even constitute 25% compactness. Secondly, I really want to point out that we talk a lot about different racial groups are not monolithic. Why is it that the only congressional district that was majority white that voted Democrat is suddenly gone now? Also, CD37, if you look at it, it is 50% Hispanic, but in reality, because West Austin is completely segregated and is rich white people with a 17% higher voter turnout rate, it is in reality a white district that looks like a Hispanic district. So I really want us to realize here that this map may have been drawn race blind, but it is in fact going to hurt communities of color. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Appreciate your testimony.
Hi, good morning, committee. My name is Daniel Suda Kelly. I'm speaking for myself. Today, I'm conflicted because Texans experienced an enormous loss of life on July 4th due to a natural disaster that we could have been better prepared for. Now could be an excellent opportunity to bring Texans together and solve big problems. One of those problems is that Texans believe that the congressional maps have been designed to break communities apart, and they're not wrong to think so. This proposed congressional map violates the principle of preserving communities of interest, and it tears through the southeastern Travis County community of Del Valley, my community. Texans don't believe that our congressional maps fairly represent our communities, and Texas Republicans are now acknowledging that there is a problem with our maps. So we agree, Texans agree, we can be using this time to pass legislation that many Texans want, legislation that would establish an independent redistricting committee. Instead, we're here fighting MAGA Republicans from establishing a one-party state. Many who have spoken have tried to appeal to the rationality of their Republican colleagues. I need to direct my words to Senate Democrats. My uncle was the general superintendent of the Church of the Nazarene. In the Church of the Nazarene, the general superintendent is essentially one of the 6 popes. Another uncle was president of the Nazarene Bible College. I share this to establish my credibility as a former Christian nationalist. I've been in the room with leaders in the Christian nationalist movement. Democrats, please look at your Republican colleagues. The eyes that are either looking back at you or avoiding your contact see you as soulless enemies. These are people capable of looking you in the eyes and telling you they love you, and in the same breath will sentence you to hell. Get out. You must get out. You are not working with people who are here in good faith. I need you to know that these are people who have a depraved indifference to democracy. They intend to annihilate democracy and establish a theocracy. You are attempting to work with people who are fundamentally different from us.
Thank you.
When you and I watch The Handmaid's Tale and recoil at the scenes, they salivate.
Your time frame.
This is the world they want to create.
Sir, we have to stick with our allocated time frame, or it's disrespectful to the other witnesses. Thank you. Yes, please go ahead. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Miosha Money. I'm a deputized voter registrar, community advocate, and proud public servant for the people in Houston, Texas, Harris County, especially in Congressional District 9 and 18. I stand for the people, the real ones. We want maps. We want real maps. We want access to the ballots. We want leadership, and we want to fight for what's righteous and not for against us, nothing for against us. HB4 is just another chapter in the same tired playbook. We saw this similar back in 2021, where they rolled out the Senate Bill 1, SB 1. That made it harder for the people to vote, especially the seniors with disabilities, the folks with language barriers, the Black and brown communities, and the ones just trying to survive. As I spent so much time educating and informing individuals about the questioning, I see the concerns in their faces and their voices, and somehow they have some sort of confusion and intimidation regards to this bill. But you guys want our votes all the time. Y'all are steady asking for our votes. We're tired of knocking and asking to be let in. We're tired of begging. We're tired of this. Now, at this time, we're not asking. We're just going to go ahead and kick it down. Our neighborhoods, our kids, and everything are being affected. So let me make this clear and let me make this loud. I stand against HB4, I stand against gerrymandering, and I stand against voter suppression and intimidation. And let's make this clear. We're not backing down, and we're just getting started. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Each of you members, any questions? Thank you. The chair will now call Nicholas Little, Veronica Worms, Emily French, and Anthony Gutierrez.
Anthony's on his way in.
We'll give Mr. Gutierrez time, and we'll begin with you. Go ahead.
My name is Veronica Worms, and I am a policy attorney representing the Texas Civil Rights Project against SB4. This map is a blatant attempt to rob Texans of color of their political power. Despite the fact that 95% of Texas's population growth was in communities of color, the 2021 maps did not produce additional opportunity districts for Texans of color. This proposal makes an already discriminatory map that is still being litigated even worse. If it were implemented, white Texans who comprise only 40% of the population would control 79% of the congressional delegation. Texans know an unfair system when they see one. The district lines here cannot be explained away on partisanship. As the Supreme Court noted in Bartlett v. Strickland, a state intentionally destroying effective crossover districts raises serious constitutional concerns. The DOJ's letter, while completely misstating the law, cited impermissible racial considerations in 4 majority-minority districts, not a quest for partisan advantage. What the legislature delivered with SB4 is a map that brazenly and intentionally cracks historic majority-minority districts, including court-ordered VRA districts, and then packs other minority groups into tight urban areas to dilute their political power. That is targeted racial discrimination, plain and simple. The lengths the state has gone to deny Texans fair representation in this redistricting farce are staggering. The Supreme Court has said that redistricting mid-decade to replace a court-ordered map is allowed, but that's not what's happening here. The House had only 3 regional hearings to encompass the 30-plus million Texans spread over more than 268,000 square miles. Only 5 hours of public testimony were allowed per hearing, so only a max of 150 Texans could speak. Less than 48 hours after the last regional hearing, this map appeared. The Senate had 4 virtual hearings where, again, the vast majority of witnesses opposed this out-of-order redistricting, and the exact same map was filed. Its drafters clearly disregarded the public's testimony on the impact of redistricting on their communities and their overwhelming opposition to this rushed redraw. We urge the committee to focus on disaster relief rather than creating a new disaster in this destructive and discriminatory map.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you
very much. You may begin.
Hi, I'm Emily E.B. French. I represent Common Cause Texas. I'm far from the first to share my disappointment that this legislature is putting gerrymandering over disaster relief, but I also believe this legislature is making future disaster relief harder with gerrymandering. Right now, we're sitting in CD 37. Under a new map, we'd be sitting in CD 10. This Capitol complex would share a U.S. House rep with students at Texas A&M, 87 miles away, the people of Centerville, 124 miles away, and the people of Segno, 183 miles away. But under this proposed map, if I walked 1,000 feet to Texas Chili Parlor, I would be in CD 37 again. Imagine that you live at the Capitol, which I'm sure is not hard for many members of this committee, and a natural disaster strikes. Let's say that the power goes out, my phone has like 15%, I only have enough juice to call my congressional rep. I want to use this constituent services to find resources, locate warming or cooling centers, and connect with other folks who are helping out near me. If my friends at Texas Chili Parlor have to walk over, these maps would force them to get help from a different representative. By drawing our communities apart, you're making it harder for neighbors to help each other. If my cousins in Pflugerville need help, these maps would force them to call a different third representative in CD 11, who would also represent our uncle 65 miles away in Llano, the people of San Angelo 180 miles away, and Midland 283 miles away. Pflugerville is 14 miles away from the capital. This map has Pflugerville in with Midland and the capital in with Segno, and Midland is 430 miles away from Segno. That is 11 and a half Rhode Island. I want to use this constituent services to find resources, locate warming or cooling centers, and connect with other folks who are helping out near me. If my friends at Texas Chili Parlor have to walk over, these maps would force them to get help from a different representative. By drawing our communities apart, you're making it harder for neighbors to help each other. If my cousins in Pflugerville need help, these maps would force them to call a different third representative in CD 11, who would also represent our uncle 65 miles away in Llano, the people of San Angelo 180 miles away, and Midland 283 miles away. Pflugerville is 14 miles away from the capital. This map has Pflugerville in with Midland and the capital in with Segno, and Midland is 430 miles away from Segno. That is 11 and a half Rhode Islands laid end to end. I believe the chair and I have different definitions of the word compact. I'm a lifelong Texan. I was born in Houston, where hurricanes constantly happen. I was raised in Tornado Alley. I now live amongst freezes and floods in central Texas. When natural disaster strikes, I lean on my neighbors and they lean on me. This map makes it harder for Texans to help each other. Please do not pass it. Thank you.
Mr. Little.
Good morning. First, giving my regards to the chair, Vice Chair, my state senator, Senator Boris Miles over here. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here. I'm here. I represent the Houston branch NAACP. I am also a Navy combat veteran, graduate of the United States Naval Academy, class of 2008, and I'm a Texan. And I'm here because I'm here advocating and speaking on behalf of the constituents and the people of Houston who feel like they are voiceless or feel as if, if they're not at their table, that they're on the menu. And I think it's imperative that we take notice to realize that the constituents, the people, are the people that we're supposed to be listening to, not the federal government. Otherwise, we have no state sovereignty. And it concerns me, and it concerns many of our constituents and many in the room, that we are currently at a point right now where we are willing to listen to what's going on from somewhere else versus doing what's good for Texas, as stated by members of the committee. So I'm just hoping that today and going forward, that everyone here and everyone that's not in the chamber that are able to vote on this will make the right decision and do it based on the conscience of Texas and not on the conscience of anyone that considers themselves practically a king or anyone who is seemingly undermining our democracy. That is not why I served my country for 10 years. That's not why many people in our community fight to be elected to office, to just bow down to any type of tyrannical force at any person's will. We are here all as Texans, but more importantly, we are Americans. And that's what makes our country great. That's what makes our state great, is being able to realize and understand that this is who we are. So I just want to ask that everyone here just really take in consideration all the testimonies being given, all the testimony that will be given, and just please keep in mind that as Texas, we've always stood strong, and it is imperative that we maintain that stability, and we maintain that to represent that across the country as well. Thank you.
We appreciate each of you and your testimony. Thank you for your service to our nation, Mr. Little. Senator West, we welcome you to the committee today and appreciate you joining us, and you're recognized if you have a question for Mr. Little.
I don't know that it's for Mr. Little. It may very well be for the author of the bill based on the testimony of this panel. In terms of deliberating on exactly what's taken into consideration in recommending this bill or amendments thereto, how will the testimony received by the committee, by people that have taken their time out to express their opinion on the bill, be utilized?
Is that a question for me?
Yes. Is that directed at me? As
No,
currently, or
the author of the bill, Senator King.
Senator King.
Okay.
Did you understand the question?
I think so.
Let me make sure you understand
Okay,
it.
please.
We've had, and I've been listening to the testimony, and we've had hundreds of people testify on this particular bill. 205. And it would seem, based on what I've gleaned, most of them have testified against this process and now also on this particular bill. And my question is, in terms of what your recommendation is going to be on this particular bill or amendments requested, how will the testimony of citizens that have taken their time to testify be taken into consideration?
Certainly.
Mr. King.
Thank you. And as to amendments, we'll just look at each amendment independently, and those decisions will ultimately be made by I guess it'd be floor amendments, and they'll be made by the 31 or 30 now senators on the floor. They'll make that decision in a vote on each amendment. I would say as to how his testimony taken into account, I think each senator represents their roughly 1 million people in their district, but they also represent the state as a whole. And I think each senator will.
In all due respect, that's not the question I asked about the other senators.
Well, Senator West, let him complete his thought because he may end up at that destination.
You may end up. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting there. But I was just going to say each of us will take into account all the information put before us, our personal analysis of the bill, what we believe that our district wants, I think, and the testimony that was provided both in the Senate and probably in the House too. I watched some of the House hearings, and contacts that we're getting from constituent calls and emails and letters, and I think I would expect we would all take all of that into account in making our decision on how to vote on any amendment or on the bill itself.
Okay,
Senator West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was referring to you, not everybody else. I mean, as the author of the bill, you are going to have to make a determination as to what bill actually comes to the floor for consideration. And normally what we do in this process that I've been involved in for a long time now is that we listen to the testimony, and based on the testimony, we take the bill, end up having a substitute and things of that nature based on the testimony that we hear. And so I guess the question I'm asking is not as it relates to other senators, but more specifically as to you as the author of the bill. Are you going to take into consideration that hundreds of people that have testified showed up at these particular hearings in deciding what bill and or substitute that you will bring to the floor? And if so, how will you do that?
Senator King.
Well, my intent is, as chair, to bring the bill up at the conclusion of testimony today for a vote before the committee, and to recommend that the committee favorably report the bill to the Senate. And then if it passes out of the committee, and if it's brought to the floor, then it would be my intent to recommend to the floor that we support the bill.
Okay, so the testimony that you've heard over these few weeks has been loud and clear that this process is not favored by Texans, correct? And the testimony that I've heard so far today is that this map is not favored by Texans. You will not take that into consideration in terms of making a recommendation to the committee and or to the Senate. Is that correct?
Senator King.
So much of the testimony that I've heard, and I've taken it all into consideration. One of the things that pushed me toward this particular map, a great deal of the testimony has been that the existing map is not as compact as it could be, and I believe this map takes strong steps in that direction. We discussed earlier before you got here specifically with regard to districts 32 and 35 are very good examples of that. So I believe it reflects the testimony that we've seen in that regard. I also believe that most of the testimony that I've heard has been with regard to racial considerations, and I think it's totally inappropriate to take racial considerations into account when drawing a map. I think that's not preferred by the law, to say the least, and I think it would be inappropriate. So I think much of all the testimony that's been suggesting that this map was drawn on a racial basis is inaccurate and incorrect. And so I'm disregarding that part of the testimony because I didn't take race into account, and I don't see race in this map.
Okay, and I understand that.
Senator West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At all due respect, when you begin to look at the map itself and take into consideration not just the map, but the whole process, 2021, we had a map that the Attorney General in the state of Texas is defending in federal court right now. And then we get a letter. Trump says that he needs 5 seats from Texas. And then we get a letter from the Department of Justice. I think that's chronological order. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, there's no map, because I've asked you about maps, and then a map shows up in the House. Then we have the quorum, the parliamentary use of quorum breaks in order to stymie the efforts, and then another map is filed over here. I think that's the order of the events. People have testified against these maps, against the maps in the entire process, and the only districts that end up, frankly, for the most part, being cracked and packed are minority districts. More specifically, I'll give you an example: the district in Dallas, and I hadn't looked at the maps in a while. All the economic engines are being taken out of the district in Dallas for some strange reason. Can you help me understand that?
Well, I'd have to ask you. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'd have to ask you to be more specific.
That relates to what district or what?
Well, what economic engines, what district, what congressional member?
Sure. Jasmine Crockett, her district.
Okay.
It's, as I understand it, and I stand to be corrected if necessary, the airport, downtown area, the medical center, law schools, and all that have been taken out for some reason. And if race is not a consideration, why would that happen?
Well, I know I represent Tarrant County, and even though Lockheed is across the street from my district, I still aggressively represent Lockheed. And I don't think because you've moved a hospital district or you've moved a district outside a hospital district, if it's still in her primary county, I assume she's going to continue to represent that as aggressively as she would otherwise. Downtown Fort Worth is not in my district, but I'm actively involved in representing and being supported by businesses and folks in the downtown area. So I don't think you can draw a line like that and say because the hospital district's no longer in her district that she's not going to be working for and representing that hospital district.
So you agree with me that that should not be a partisan consideration, right, in terms of whether or not you move or don't move a hospital district or a downtown area? And so in drawing maps, you shouldn't take into consideration moving economic engines of a particular district to accomplish a partisan result. You would agree with that, based on what you just said?
I don't.
Senator King.
I don't think that's what I just said. I think what I said. You asked me specifically about her district. I think that, as I said earlier, that you should not take that I did not take racial factors into consideration. I think that the map is more compact than the existing map. I think that it achieves the objective that at least I had of performing better from a partisan perspective for Republicans. And I think that that it is drawn in a manner that's going to continue to allow members of Congress to represent their districts and the areas surrounding their district, like we all do. As I said, I'm Tarrant County, and I try to I only have about a third of Tarrant County, but I try to represent all of Tarrant County and help. And the other senators in Tarrant County do the same thing. And I believe this map takes into consideration what is traditional redistricting criteria, and I think it's a very supportable map.
Okay, and I understand,
West.
Mr. Chairman, and I know this committee is laboring because I've been on this committee several times before myself, and I'll have extensive questions for you on the floor because you weren't really responsive to the question that I asked, to be honest with you. But because, again, I asked about the partisan piece in terms of taking the economic engines out. And if it's not a partisan issue, then why were they taken out? Okay? I mean, just because you have economic engines like downtown Dallas, the medical district, law schools, and things like that, you don't need to take those out of a minority district in order to establish, to accomplish your goal of increasing partisanship in the state of Texas. But yet and still, that's what was done by the map drawers. Speaking of the map drawers, did you draw this map? Or who drew the map?
Senator King.
Okay, I've adopted HB 4. My understanding was traditionally the way it's worked is the congressional delegation usually has someone draw a map. I believe, I think I'm correct in saying in 2021, the Redistricting Trust, which is an organization that's involved in redistricting across the country, they helped draw the map for the Republican congressional delegation in 2021. My understanding is that the Redistricting Trust drew this map as well as others, and this was the map that was adopted by the House.
Okay, so the Redistricting Trust drew this map.
I think they participated in drawing the map, is my understanding.
Did you have any input in drawing the map?
None at all.
Okay, so it was given to you.
No.
Well, let me finish. It was given to you, and you were asked to carry this particular map without you having any input into what the impact of this map was.
Senator King.
No, not at all. As I've said repeatedly in the hearings and in caucus, that I considered drawing a map. I had been considering waiting for the House map to come over. No one ever handed me a map. I was not given directions on whether or not on any map to take. But as I watched the House hearings, and I stated this earlier before you got here today, as I watched the House hearings, and as I looked at this map and I thought it was more compact than the existing map, I asked our legal counsel to review it to see if they came to the same conclusion that the House counsel had, that the map was legal under all applicable law. They reported back to me that it was, and then I filed the bill on Monday. Rather than wait for the House bill to come over, because things were stalling in the House, which is a procedural and way of passing legislation the same way you've done it 1,000 times over your decades in the House and the Senate.
Decades.
Okay. If you're working on a companion bill and the bill on the other side of the body begins to stall, then you will file it over here and try to get it moving as a companion. And that's exactly what I did. I decided that the House bill was a very good bill, that it accomplished the purposes that I had in looking for a bill, looking for a map. And I went ahead and decided to file it when it stalled in the House because the Democrats left the state. And my opinion is when things stall, then you try to find a way to move forward, and that's what I did and why I filed this map.
Senator West.
In closing, all due respect, I think that listening to public testimony here is just checking the box. That's all it has.
That's it.
The reality is that this testimony that is being given by citizens of the state of Texas is not really going to be taken into consideration, given the fact that you've already said that whatever happens in terms of testimony of citizens, you're going to make a motion today to approve this particular map and send it to the floor. That's what I heard you say. Is that correct?
Senator King.
Well, I would take the testimony of one person who's on this panel before us. The way I understood her testimony was that a map should be drawn from a percentage basis that directly reflects the racial makeup of Texas. And I do not agree with drawing a map on that basis. So in that regard, that particular testimony, I would disregard because I think that's the wrong way to draw a map.
What about, Mr. Chairman?
Senator West.
What about communities of interest?
Senator King.
I believe this map being more compact than the existing map improves communities of interest.
How so?
Well, I'll use District 32 and District 35 as examples. And District 35, for example, now begins way south in Bexar County, takes extremely difficult jigs and jags as it progresses all the way up into northern Travis. District 35 under this map becomes very well-aligned communities of interest in the counties of Guadalupe, Wilson, Karnes, and what's a more rural area of Bexar, and this is a much more compact district than the existing 35, and there's other examples throughout the map.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator West.
And so let's stay with Bexar, because I don't know that much about that particular area other than I know San Antonio was there. And so you've taken the urban communities of Bexar County and aligned them with rural communities in Wilson and also Karnes County. Is that correct?
Well, it's much like my Senate district that takes parts of Fort Worth and then aligns it with the suburban areas of Parker County, which would be that area of Bexar County, I guess, would be more of a suburban area, and then connects it with, in my area, connects it with the rural counties that are to the west and south of that. And so that's just what you have to do in Texas because of the difference in population in our urban and rural counties. So you're always having to reach in and pick up some population. But what I'll tell you is just looking at the map, common sense tells you that a map that is compact, a district that is compact as opposed to one that is long and thin and jiggled and jaggled, that compact one is more compact. I don't know how else to put that.
Again, I'm talking about communities of interest. So when you did your analysis for that particular area to make a determination as to whether those were communities of interest, what did you take into consideration, if anything?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, an inner city area is going to have a little bit different primary issues before it than a suburban district might have, which will have a little bit different ones than what a rural area might have, although they all have overlapping issues. And so I think when you're trying to draw a map and you're trying to get 766,000 people into 38 districts, you're going to have to draw districts that are outside, that reach into urban areas, but also extend into rural areas. And I think when you compare, in this case, District 35 as example, the existing 35 to the proposed 35 in any common sense is more compact.
Is that
Senator West?
Oh, okay. And members, I apologize. I'll save a lot of these questions for the floor. But again, with all due respect, I asked about community of interest. You talked about compactness. I understand what you're talking about with compactness, but the question is, what factors did you take into consideration to make a determination as to whether or not there were communities of interest?
Communities of interest.
Let me finish, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry. And
so the question is that communities of interest, I mean, do people have the same types of, I guess you could say they go to the same churches? Are they, what elements of communities of interest that's been recognized by law did you take into consideration?
Well, it can be a lot of things. As you said, it can be the fact that that there's a River Oaks neighborhood.
In the 35?
I'm just throwing out a name of a neighborhood.
Well, I was talking about 35.
We'll call it Meadowbrook.
I'm talking about 35.
Okay.
I'll do respect.
No, you're not. No, it's not being with due respect.
Let Senator
I'm trying to answer the question. I'm trying to answer what you ask. What I mean by what I take into consideration in a community of interest, which is one of the traditional redistricting criteria.
Exactly.
All right. It can be many things. It can be a historic neighborhood. Okay. or it can be the regional water areas. It can be the regional transportation areas, the TxDOT zones. It can be the economic development areas. And I'll use as another example, my home county of Parker, a large percentage of the folks in Parker County drive to Tarrant County for work. So in that regard, there's a community of interest in the commuting, in the jobs that are provided in Tarrant County, and the families that live in Parker. Now, as Tarrant moves into Parker and more of that business moves into Parker, we share that economic base. So communities of interest can be anything, and particularly in a county the size of Tarrant. Now, when you look at 35, you see those large rural counties, and you also see a larger population base in the more suburban area of and less developed areas of Bexar County, and they're going to be more aligned from a community of interest standpoint than they would if you had picked inner city San Antonio. And I think it's a very good district.
Okay.
And I'll also suggest that no one on this committee has offered amendments to change that district, and anybody is certainly available to or has the option of offering amendment to change that district on the floor. But my point is, when I look at it, it is a much more compact district, and compactness takes into account geography and all the traditional redistricting criteria, and any common sense look at it says it's a more compact, better designed, easier to represent from a driving distance for the congressional member, and it's just a better district all around in its geography.
Okay, it sounds like you've used the word compactness about 10 times. So
Senator West.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like you used the word compactness several times in your response to me. I appreciate your response, but it seems like compactness was the number one element that you took into consideration in drafting or presenting this particular map. Thank you, sir.
Members, any questions for this panel? If not, thank you each for your testimony. Senator Miles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator West, let me just answer your questions that you were trying to get answered as you exit. The gentleman's name is Adam Kincaid, who's out of Virginia, who wrote this map, and it's just coincidental that he runs the National Republican Redistricting Committee. Oh, yeah. He's done so for a while now, and he lives out of Virginia. That's who actually drew this map. And for the numbers, Senator, we had 205 today, as of today, and I'd be generous in saying that 5 of those were for the map, and the 200 were against. Now, today, we've got 117 signed up against the map, and 3 for the map. So now, what the chairman's going to do with those numbers, that's up to him. You asked him that question. He's going to have to give you that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Miles. We'll proceed with our public testimony. The next panel, the chair will call again Anthony Gutierrez, Andre Wagner, Nicolette Ardiente, Dylan Flaharty. You may begin, sir.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I appreciate your time and allowing us to be here. My name is Dylan Flaherty. I'm here to represent myself. I'm also a candidate for Congress in Texas's 37th District here in Austin. I find myself incredibly frustrated with the purpose of this. There are far more pressing needs in Texas. Flood relief, public school funding, making lives for Texans better. And yet, we're bickering over partisan politics coming from the president. It's incredibly frustrating. I also want to call out something that I find incredibly disingenuous. The chair mentions that these maps are more compact, and he cites District 35 continuously. Yet District 11 in the new map spans from Pflugerville to west of Midland. As I'm sure that Senator Sparks would understand, the needs of Midland and the needs of Pflugerville are far different. And so saying that they're more compact, allowing for easier drivability, is a joke. Because it's a 6-hour drive from Pflugerville to Midland. Again, this is all coming from the President of the United States. And I don't understand, as Texans, why we're all of a sudden bending the knee to the federal government. As a Texan, I believe that we're Texans, that we stand above that. And as we sit here right now, the FBI has accepted to hunt down House members of Texas. And no one seems to be crying foul to that. Now, if the roles were reversed, if this was the Biden administration or the Obama administration, I know all of you would be screaming from the rooftops. So I look at all of you today, and I ask you to reject this measure. To imagine if the roles were reversed, what would you say? Because this isn't democracy. You're not allowing us to choose our representatives. You're choosing your voters.
Hello. Okay.
Go ahead. Yes, you may begin.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Good morning. My name is Nicolette Ardiente. I am here representing myself and the State Democratic Executive Committee of Congressional District 23. I'm on the outskirts of San Antonio that goes all the way to El Paso right now. And like many of y'all, I do also have constituents that I report to that come to me regularly and ask me about, like, hey, what are the issues that are happening, not only with the Democratic Party, or how can I get in contact with my representative? Their issues, again, from San Antonio to El Paso, range so differently, from Del Rio to Maverick County, Eagle Pass, to Crystal City, Zavala. Like, these are all rural towns. And I've heard so many folks on this dais talk about CD 35 in Bexar County. Respectfully, you do not live in Bexar County. You don't know the issues that impact us in Bexar County. Yet you want to refuse to hear the public testimony of Texans who, like working class Texans, wish they could be here in front of y'all to talk about why redistricting is so impactful to them. But they're not given that opportunity. They have to work. They have to make sure their kids are getting ready for school next week. But y'all are not giving every single Texan that opportunity. And as the gentleman mentioned, being frustrated is almost like, we carry it with a pride as Texas now, because we don't have the representation that we truly deserve. Again, from San Antonio to Del Rio to Eagle Pass, all over Southwest Texas, I have constituents who are constantly asking for help. If you want, you could split up Congressional District 23. But nobody wants to talk about that because that's a solidly Republican district. I really want to see leadership that shows up for Texas. And I do commend all of the Texas Democrats that have fled the House, fled the Senate to do so. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Andre Wagner. I'm also representing the Houston Black American Democrats. I come here as a resident of Congressional District 18. I've lived in Congressional District 18 for over 20 years. My mother lives in Congressional District 18. My sister lives in Congressional District 18. Please do not split up our district. Do not pack and crack us like we did in Beaumont. Beaumont, for over 30 years, was a solid Democratic seat that was represented by a wonderful member, built on communities of interest of Latinos and African Americans who voted together. But now Beaumont is split in half. But in Houston, there's too many of African Americans there, so instead you pack us in one district. Now the only real thing I would ask is, instead of voting on making new lines, perhaps put a law in place requiring our governor to call an election after our congressional representative has died. I currently reside in Congressional District 18, and I have no congressional representative, and I have not had so for over 5 months. In Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, all Republican states, require their governor to have and hold a special election within either 60 or 100 days of a vacancy. All of them Republican states. Please, if you want to do something about elections, how about requiring our governor, like 4 other Republican states do, to have a special election when there's a vacancy that occurs? I am now without representation. You all are talking about effective representation, and my community does not have so because the governor has chosen not to call an election until November. That makes no sense to me. And so please, while we are talking about having effective representation, I think right now my family, my community is disserved by what's going on in Texas, by what's going on in Congressional District 18. So please implore for my family and yours for better representation. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Members, any questions? Senator Miles?
Thank you. Andre, let me say thank you for being here today, and thank you for the support your family's always given our community, not just me, but our community. And I think your math's a little wrong. Brother Turner has passed for 5 months, but we've actually gone without representation in 18 almost a year now. Okay, it's been almost a year that we've gone without proper representation consistently in the 18th congressional district. You should also know that based on this map that is being presented to us today, we are overpacked. They have taken Senate District 9, Congressional District 9, which was an African American district belonging to Congressman Al Green, put 70% of his district into the 18th congressional district, which is already an African American district, which now makes Senate District 13 the largest African American, the only African American, and the largest African American senatorial district in the country, damn near. Do y'all understand that? So that's packing. That's heavy packing. But they've taken away one of our voices. We had where we had 2, we now only have 1. That's some serious packing. Thank you for your testimony today. And to the gentleman who first spoke, it's absolutely correct. They're not allowing constituents to choose their electeds. This is allowing electeds to choose their constituents. Okay? And that's where we're wrong. And as far as my colleagues in the House who are being chased like runaway slaves, and the only pursuit they're trying to do is protect democracy, we have to stand with them, because that's all they're doing is trying to protect democracy, and they're being chased away and they're being entrapped like runaway slaves. Thank you.
Senator King.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Is it Flaherty?
Flaherty, yes.
Flaherty, thank you. I just wanted to respond to what you said about District 11 and going from West Texas from Midland. Actually goes from Ector County, which is one county to the west, into Travis County. In the current map, it goes from Ector County into Bell County. And so it's almost really the same footprint. It just, instead of picking up some additional population in Bell, it dips in and picks some out of Travis. So the distance from east to west in the current map is really the same as the distance from east to west in the proposed map, and I just wanted to point that out.
Do I have a chance to respond?
Certainly.
I just find it hypocritical.
At chair's discretion, but I'm sure.
So you talk about this thin line that goes down I-35, but in District 11, that thin line follows along the Williamson County and Travis County border. So it's the same thing, and then it balloons out into West Texas. It's a 5.5, 6 hour drive. And by saying that it already exists to some extent doesn't make it any better, especially when you're claiming that the 35th district.
But you understand in West Texas, for you to be able to get 766,000 people together, you've got, so these numbers will be a little bit off, but I think they're still pretty close. So if you look at the I-35 corridor, even though you've got large cities like Amarillo, Lubbock, Wichita Falls, Midland, Odessa, San Antonio, west of I-35, even though Abilene, even though you've got all those cities, still only about 14.5% of Texans live west of the I-35 corridor. And if you look at the East Texas, the I-45 corridor, only about 8.5% of Texans live east of that. Most of the population is in the triangle. So if to comport with one person, one vote, which is very important, because if you live in a district that's got 100,000 people and I live in one that's got 50,000 people, my vote's worth twice as much as yours. And that's why the most fundamental thing in redistricting in congressional districts is equal population. So if you're going to put together a district into West Texas that's got 766,000 people in it, you've got to come east. And you're going to have to pick up population out of Williamson or Bell or wherever it is. And so my only point was that you had said it was wrong to come all the way from Ector County to Travis County in a new map, and I was just simply saying that the footprint really hasn't changed. It's just going from Ector County into Bell County, which is just one county north of, or 2 counties north of Travis County. So it's still that same spread, but you just don't have any other way to draw those West Texas districts and comply with the most fundamental purpose of redistricting.
That is so intellectually lazy. Like, honestly, that is the most intellectually lazy argument I've heard thus far.
It's just simple.
Sir,
you can drive.
We're not here to debate. We certainly had Senator King as the author choose to make some comments based on testimony and offered you the opportunity to respond, but we have to continue along or we're going to lose witnesses that are on time frames to have to get back home.
Thank you.
So
thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
For that,
thank you.
Chairman. Thank you for your testimony as well. Very much appreciated. We're all listening very closely. Thank you both as well. We'll call the next panel Dr. Craig Nazor, Robert Norris, Susan McNeil, Emily Amps. Please come forward, and we'll begin with Dr. Nazor.
Hello, my name is Dr. Nazor. I'm the Conservation Chair of the State Chapter of the Sierra Club. Cyrus Reed, our Conservation Director, has submitted some really good points here about how this redistricting negatively affects people's power to control the kind of environmental issues we have. One point I'd like to say is about this compactness. District 10 has not been compacted since it was first drawn. It looks like a python that swallowed an elephant, and it continues to look that way, and it's highly unrepresentative. Another district that I'd like to talk about, it's in the valley actually, it's a couple of them, and it's about Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi Harbor is facing huge challenges with pollution. And desalination plants and LNG plants, and there's an ethane cracker plant there now. And what's happened, even though some of the districts may look more compact, they divide Corpus Christi up now into 3 different areas. And 127, it reaches around like a little snake to bite off a little Republican area, a really Democrat area right there. And what happens in Texas is, for instance, the TCEQ is not allowed to control cumulative impacts of pollution, just individual places. So when they built that ethane cracker plant, the TCEQ told Exxon that no, that's too much air pollution. Build 2 plants right next to each other and okay them each for half that amount, and we can do it. That was just dumb, and everybody saw through it. But now they're impacted with all this pollution, and they're communities of color, of minorities. And then you split them off into pieces, they can't even go to the EPA through their representative. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Thank you for your testimony. Thanks for being here. Oh, Senator Hinojosa, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one of the comments I made initially when we started this hearing, that I was very concerned about Nueces County, the way it's being split, I think in 3 ways. And quite frankly, that's not being compact. And Nueces County, as you well know, besides we have the port, refineries, new interests coming in, we have a desal plant being constructed that will be used as a template for the rest of the Gulf Coast. So all of that is starting completely change around, which I don't think is very good for the communities in Corpus Christi and in the Coastal Bend area when you have that type of division within the county itself and the neighborhoods. But thank you for your testimony.
Ed, Sierra Club agrees with you there.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Welcome. Pull that microphone close. Introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Emily Amps, and I'm the Director of Politics and Policy at the Texas AFL-CIO, the state's labor federation with over 250,000 affiliated members across the state, including in your districts. And I'm here to testify on their behalf and for myself. When this weekends, there will have been 4 legislative hearings to discuss disaster response and how we can prevent more innocent lives from being swept away in the floods. And when this weekends, there will have been 13 legislative hearings to discuss congressional redistricting, something no Texan asked for and will further divide already fragile communities. That's time that should have been spent addressing what Texans do need: protection from damaging storms, wages that are enough to put food on tables and roofs over heads, access to health care and health insurance so our neighbors don't have to choose between their well-being and bankruptcy, shielding workers from wage theft and writing laws that protect workers from heat death. But instead, we're here because state leaders would rather bow to the pressure of a president that cares more about his political future than the future of our state. Pressures that will result in silencing even more Texans, including many workers, adding to the many voices already muted by the current district lines. Communities that have already been severed and neighborhoods already divided by this current map, which could be used already as a study in gerrymandering. This map, though, SB4, this bill, doubles down on gerrymandering and says, hold my beer. For example, fast-growing suburban communities like mine in Buda, Texas, just south of Austin, currently in Congressional District 21, already sliced and diced and put into district with rural communities that we have little in common with. I thought it couldn't get worse. I was proven wrong. If this passes and is signed into law, my house will now be on the edge of Congressional District 27, a district that will go from Hays and Travis counties to the Gulf of Mexico and Matagorda County. On a good day with no traffic, and those of us in Austin know there is no good days with no traffic, that's about a 3-hour and 10-minute drive. Doesn't sound very compact to me. And please, someone explain to me why a fast-growing suburb of the 11th largest city in the United States has in common with Palacios, Texas. And of course, it's a rhetorical question because we all know the answer is very little. So I urge you, as you move forward, please remember that your actions during this special session will have a real impact on real people. And there are real issues that need to be addressed. And also remember that you do not have to pass a map. Please don't forget that.
And thanks for your testimony. Ms. McNeil, welcome. Get close to that microphone and introduce yourself and go ahead.
Okay, my name is Susan McNeil, and I live in Pflugerville, District 17. I'm here representing myself. And you all have heard about the racial disparities and the legalities of this map. So I'm going to focus on what is actually transpiring with this map. It is an authoritarian attack on our democracy. Our democracy is already fractured, with Congress shirking their responsibilities and not representing the American people and ceding their power to the Oval Office. If you approve this map, it will be one more nail in the coffin of democracy. The felon in the White House states that he deserves 5 more seats because he won Texas, the largest majority percentage ever in the history of the United States. That is a lie. So he does not deserve the 5 seats. I, for one, will never, ever bow to tyranny. Like the old adage says, give me liberty or give me death. And you all can take that to the bank. I implore you, do not destroy our freedoms and democracy. And if you're scared of the felon, quit, leave, vamoose. We do not want or need scared politicians. And lastly, do not force the American people into an armed revolution.
because I fear if you continue on the same path, this is where we are headed.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Mr. Morris, welcome. Pull that microphone close. Mr. Norris, introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Robert Norris, representing myself and opposed to Senate Bill 4. I want my grandkids and all others to benefit from a responsive government that promotes the best interests of our citizens. I want them to benefit from public schools that help develop intelligent and kind students. President Trump wants this legislature to adopt a new congressional map that will allow him to continue favoring wealthy and powerful Republicans. These are the same people who want to privatize and undermine our public schools. My grandkids, like me, have lived most of their lives in Travis County. The map you're considering will redraw our local districts, with the result that our excellent congressmen, Lloyd Doggett and Greg Abbott, are less likely to be elected in the future. These congressmen are working to promote democracy and fairness and oppose cuts to our legacy safety net programs like Medicaid and food stamps. Also, communities of color in other parts of Texas will lose vital representation if this map is adopted. As you've heard, Texas has a shameful history of disenfranchising blacks and Hispanics, which Senate Bill 4 will continue. The map before you will have an adverse impact on many of the state's grandkids and everyday citizens, so I definitely oppose it. And I applaud the House Democrats who are doing the heavy lifting to thwart the Trump and Abbott power grab by going to other states. I'm finished.
Thanks for your testimony. Senators, any questions for any of our witnesses on this panel? Well, thank you. You're excused. Thanks for your testimony. Call Anthony Gutierrez, Dr. Susana Carranza, David Wheeler, Nick Molberg. Looking for Anthony Gutierrez, there's Dr. Susana Carranza, David Wheeler, Nick Molberg. I call Carrie King. Is Carrie here wishing to testify? Carrie King. Just give me. Francesca Fraga Leahy. Is Francesca here wishing to testify? Wow, come on down. Welcome. Welcome to each of you. When you get situated, we'll start over here. Francesca, pull the microphone close, introduce yourself, and give us your testimony. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman King and Vice Chair Creighton and committee members. My name is Francesca Fraga Leahy, and I'm representing myself in opposition to SB 4. Alongside the vast majority of Texans whom you all have heard from, and from those whom you have not, I'm vehemently opposed to SB 4 because the proposed map and this process are wrong from a moral, logical, and a Texan perspective. I'm proud to be here today as a lifelong Texan because 3 generations ago, my Mexican and Italian great-grandparents immigrated to America. 2 generations ago, my grandparents raised their families on the west side of San Antonio and in South Waco, and my parents, small business owners, Chicano activists, and lifelong community advocates, raised me and my siblings in Waco, Texas. I went to college in Austin, taught middle school in the Rio Grande Valley, and now own a home with my husband and 3 kids in South Central Austin in current Congressional District 37. I know Texas values. And as a former social studies teacher, I know that the Texas Constitution states all political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. This outrageous mid-decade redistricting move by the governor and the current DOJ, enforced by the unpopular authoritarian in the White House to increase Republican representation in the U.S. House by taking existing districts away from communities of color, including my friends and neighbors in the current District 35 in East Austin, just a few miles away from where I live, is shameful. Sin vergüenza, as my abuelita used to say.
This process has laid bare the pitiful reality that today's statewide electeds, politicians, part of a Republican Party that has held power in this state for most of my life, are behaving as if our community's voices and votes are for sale to out-of-state donors and to corrupt interests. That my family's tax dollars are being wastefully mismanaged by incompetent state leadership that has chosen to kneel to a wannabe king. It's not a game, is it? I urge you to stop this undemocratic, ridiculous political maneuver. Do not pass SB 4.
And thank you for your testimony. Pull the microphone close. Welcome. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Carrie King, and I am testifying on behalf of myself and against this proposed redistricting. Fair and equal representation, the crown jewel of our democracy, that is what we are here to protect. However, as long as the ability to get away with racial gerrymandering remains, we will stay stuck in a loop, repeating a sad and shameful cycle of domination and oppression. Our country's racist legacy started with the colonization and near obliteration of Native peoples. Then came the saga of slavery, answered by the Civil War and Jim Crow. The Civil Rights Movement exposed the pervasive racism that continues to plague our society to this day, but people of color finally secured the Voting Rights Act. Unfortunately, over the past 60 years, to the day yesterday, the Voting Rights Act has been whittled down slowly but surely, and now today we see how brazen and out in the open white supremacy has become, with this "Let's Go Brandon" stickers on trucks and neo-Nazis marching in New Hampshire. Not to mention ICE out there racially profiling and spreading doom and fear across our nation. We have to show up with the moral fiber it takes to meet this moment. We have to choose love and kindness. Members, it's up to you to steer our great experiment in representative democracy back towards equity and justice. Reject this DC-ordered redistricting plan and right our sinking ship. Turn away from fear of losing personal power. Look deeply into and open your hearts to the space where courage defeats intimidation. Our democracy is counting on all of you to choose integrity over corruption. Texas House Democrat representatives who've broken quorum, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for honoring the nonviolent legacy of civil rights warriors who've come before you, the likes of Jordan, King, and Lewis, who are smiling down upon you. Thank you for the good trouble. I'm here to add my voice to the powerful message we heard from Senator Miles here today, and to demonstrate to my two sons who are present in this room that when we see injustice, we must stand up and fight back. When we do, love wins. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Pull that microphone over, if you will, and introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Thank you. My name is David Wheeler. I'm representing myself. I'm speaking today in opposition of SB 4. This is a bill that only serves to undercut our democracy and ratchet up the tensions between parties. It is a power grab, as has been acknowledged. Last week, more than 93% of the more than 500 people who testified or dropped cards concerning HB 4 stated that they oppose this action. From Senator Miles's note today, the percentage is 98% against today in testimony. This is a call to try to manipulate the congressional map for party gain, not for the good of the people or for the state. The brave House members who broke quorum have offered you an opportunity to take a step back and reconsider this rash action. Have the courage, integrity, and will to vote no and keep this awful bill, with respect, from leaving your committee. Voting yes will only serve to undermine faith in our government and faith in you. If you will not hear my words, I can only ask that you heed this warning from George Washington in his farewell address. However political parties may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of the government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. The time that Washington warned us against is now. You have the power to step back from this precipice. Senators, please heed this warning from our first president. Serve democracy over party. Serve state over party, our state. This bill undercuts our great experiment. Vote against SB 4. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. for your testimony. Dr. Carranza, welcome. You know how to do this. Get that microphone close. Introduce yourself and go ahead.
I am Dr. Susanna Carranza, representing myself, and I oppose this horrible bill and this entire rush process. The chair, Mr. King, has claimed this was a wonderful process, citing the early MATLAS hearings. Well, being forced to mark neutral when so many of us said hell no does not sound like a fair process to me. Texas do not want this rush process or this map. Yet, you filed the same exact map that will illegally break communities of color, of interest, and gerrymander cities, and receive overwhelming rejection last Friday at the House hearings. The chair also mentioned the horrors of the previous administration as a motivation for the new districts. You mean like ICE? Pulling people out of cars because they look brown? Well, that was not the previous administration. This is happening right now. I'm a naturalized citizen who has called the U.S. home for more than half my life. I was born in Brazil during peak dictatorship when people were being disappeared. Kind of sounds similar. There's a movie, I'm Still Here, and you might learn something from it. As a little kid, I went to pro-democracy rallies with my older siblings. I was lucky to see the transition out of dictatorship. Right now, you all, with this map, are handing down on a silver platter our democracy to Trump. It's not too late. I support House members who are breaking quorum to defend Texans. And if you really want to learn from history, you're going to withdraw this map right now and switch the focus to flood, because if you say, well, maybe if they come back, we'll work on things, well, work on floods, all right? Do the right thing.
Thanks
You'll have time.
Thanks, Dr. Carranza, for your testimony. Senator King, Chairman King, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Doctor, and thanks for being here today. Just wanted to make sure of something. You said you were required to vote or to mark neutral when you registered?
On the mapless hearings, like last
but
week.
But today you were able to register
yes.
opposition. Okay, just want to make sure the registration process was working right.
Yes, it is. Can I continue? I'm saying that you're using the previous hearings to say this was open and fair, but people could not officially say they opposed before while they clearly opposed during the Senate hearings, where their words clearly opposed. So, and today, I understand, I marked against. I have been here a time or many, as some of you have known. But having to mark neutral last week felt really, really horrible because I was not neutral at all.
Just so everybody understands how that works, anytime there's not someone mentioned the flood hearings. In the flood hearings, if you registered to testify, you had to register neutral because there's no bill before the committee under consideration. So that's why you would mark neutral. The same thing was true in the redistricting hearings before there was a map. That's exactly why we're having public testimony today, is because we have a map and we wanted people to be able to register that they're for it, neutral on it, or against it. So that's why that occurred earlier. But now that there is a map, a bill, that anyone who registers to testify can register their opposition to it. So that's kind of how that works for the general public's knowledge. Now, I know you know that, Doctor.
I understand the process, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, is there any other questions for our witnesses on this panel? Thank you for being here. You're excused. And for the benefit of those listening who may not be familiar with the process, anyone who's watched knows that every witness was allowed and encouraged to fully express their opinion for or against anything. And no one has even suggested that a registration of neutral on the topic was a support or anything like that for the redistricting process. And again, folks familiar with the process know, but we sure wouldn't want someone listening in who doesn't know how that system works to be misled. So with that, thank you. Chair again calls Nick Malberg. Called Nick on the last panel. I want to make sure everybody has a chance. Also call again Anthony Gutierrez. Lauren Pena. Melody Tremalo. I know they're over. Come on down, have a seat. I know there are overflow rooms. We'll give folks time to get here. Also looking for Becky Bullard. Called Joe M. Good. I'll call Emily Yemington. Courtney Benton. Call Courtney Benton. Sarah Beck. Sarah Beck. John McKiernan Gonzalez. And if I, oh, please come on down. And if I called your name and you enter the room, come on down. We'll have a seat for you. And we'll continue to call witnesses whenever everyone to have a chance. I call David Chinkanchan. David Chinkanchan. Call Sarah Cinco. Sarah Cinco. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, and excuse me for interrupting.
Please.
But I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable out there. It's kind of freezing up here. Is anybody freezing out there or too hot? Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. We'll see if we can't get them to crank it up a couple of degrees. I apologize for that.
And if I called your name, we have a seat for you. Please come on down. And I'm going to call a couple more names so that folks can be making their way into this room because we're going to have you on the next panel. So for the next panel, we'll be looking for Dr. Nancy Simon, Denise Palacios, and, of course, anyone who I called before. We'll get you on the next one. So thank you for working with us. I want to make sure everyone gets to testify. And we'll start over here. So when you're ready, pull that microphone close, introduce yourself, and give us your testimony.
Hi all, my name is Emily Yemington, and I'm representing myself against redistricting. I was born and raised here in Austin, Texas. I'm a biomedical engineer, newly graduated from UT Austin, Hookham, and I'm just about to start my PhD. This bill is obviously a result of the DOJ asking for 5 more seats. This isn't an accidental, oops, I redistricted Texas and accidentally found exactly the number of seats Epstein's bestie asked for. And this is not just scrounging through the couch cushions for some loose votes. You're being obtuse if you think one vote before the redistricting is equal to one after. You're literally redrawing the map to dilute communities you disagree with. If this were truly a body of representatives, an independent third party would be redrawing these districts by community interest and need. Anything else is a blatant admission that your ideas and policies are not good enough to faithfully convert Texans, even with the currently gerrymandered map. But Epstein's best friend is clearly scared of what non-gerrymandered voters might think. Are you? Let's not pretend that you're not aware of the context of this redistricting, or that there is any good faith redrawing on behalf of the people who testified at previous hearings. Saying that the map is race-blind does not change the fact that it will disproportionately suppress brown and black communities. The intent may not be racist, but it doesn't really matter because the effect is racist. Either way, it's clear that most Texans don't want this. I was taught growing up the Texas Capitol, this building, stands taller than the one in D.C. We fly our state flag at the same height as our country's. We are the Lone Star State. For better or worse, I was taught that I'm a Texan first and an American second. I ask you all to be Texans first, like the brave House representatives who are breaking quorum right now. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Introduce yourself and give us your testimony. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning. My name is Courtney Benton, lawyer and community advocate. I'm a resident of Austin, Texas, and I stay in Congressional District 37. I stand here in opposition of the redistricting and the proposed Texas congressional map, SB4. So my question today is, what is democracy? And where did our democracy go? According to Cornell Law School's Legal Information Institute, democracy is a system of government in which the right to govern lies with the people. Democracy is valued for promoting political stability, individual freedoms, and accountability in governance, allowing for peaceful transfers of power and providing mechanisms to redress grievances and injustices. As a black resident of Austin, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe because of the results of what this map will do to suppress votes and voices of people whose vote and voice matters. With the proposed Texas congressional map, this race-based racial gerrymandering is in play and negatively impacts many people in many communities, especially our black and brown communities, something that has gone on for years. It was mentioned that 2 objectives were used in making this map. Compactness, and 5 Republican seats. Although there may have not been a racial intention, that is not the case what will result from this map. So now that you know and have heard the testimonies and see that there will be less representation for people of color, specifically Black and brown communities, what will you do next? Will you care? Will you do anything? When is enough enough? I always hated the word gerrymandering, but today I understand what it means more than ever. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. One day I know the struggle will change. There's got to be a change, not only for Texas, not only for people in the United States, but people all over the world. However, the very right here that I'm sitting here fighting for a fundamental right as boundaries around me get manipulated at the cost of our citizens. The very right that had people who look like me sacrifice their lives through literal blood, sweat.
Thank you for your testimony. There are many folks waiting in line, so we're trying to stay close to those time limits. Thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Get close to the mic, introduce yourself, and go ahead.
Howdy, my name is Melody Tremalo, and here we are again talking about shit that doesn't matter, like SB 7 or redistricting. And yet again, I'm asking why we aren't talking...
If you use profanity, you'll be excused. You may continue.
Understood. I am yet again asking why we aren't talking about the flood or flood relief. I am currently without a car and have been since June. I am here because I am borrowing a car from a friend. On the 5th of July, I woke up to news that the floods were worse than anybody anticipated. On the 6th of July, I joined up with individuals and nonprofits to provide assistance to search and recovery and cleanup teams remotely. I acted as a central hub of information and coordination. Without any funding, training, or experience, I found a way to help my fellow Texans. All of you sitting here before me have far more money, influence, and power than myself. So I ask which of you have spent 15 hours a day directing food and supplies? And I understand that y'all are lawmakers, so I don't understand what kind of time commitment your job requires or entails. But y'all can certainly prioritize what gets heard. So why are you spending so much time on redistricting instead of flood relief and prevention? Senator Miles was very right. Washington asked for 5 more seats, and y'all are more than happy to give it to them. I've never known Texas to bow down to the federal government, but the majority of y'all on this committee not only entertained that request, y'all are actively rolling out the red carpet for it. So what changed? Y'all decided to fall in line with fascism. Call it what it is. This benefits the bottom line of the Republican Party. This move keeps you in power because you know that if you wait for the proper time to redistrict the next census, it is too long for y'all to retain control of Texas. I worked myself ragged for an entire month. I've watched hearings from victims of the flood from Kerrville to Sandy Creek. They still need help. They need debris cleanup. They need trash hauled away. They need long-term housing. They need funerary services. They need grief counseling and trauma therapy. Quite frankly, they need help. And you insist on redistricting. Our neighbors don't need a new map.
Thank you for your testimony. Thanks for being here. We want to make sure everybody gets to testify. Ms. Good, pull that microphone close, introduce yourself, and go ahead.
I'm here to say this again, because somehow the urgency still isn't being heard. Our communities are in crisis after flooding. Families are grieving and desperate for help. You know, the reason we had a special session. What are we doing? Redistricting. Again, in the middle of disaster recovery. And let's be honest, this isn't just bad timing. Don't whisper with your neighbor. It is morally wrong and fundamentally unjust because this redistricting process is not just bureaucratic, it's racist. These maps erase representation on purpose. They silence the voices of the communities who are hurting the most right now. Communities that are overrepresented in need, underrepresented in this building, and clearly not the priority of the moment. It's not leadership, it's abandonment. And it is rooted not only in political greed, but in racial injustice. This state should be mobilizing every resource to rebuild, not redraw. So I'll say it again, louder, clearer. Redistricting can wait. Racist redistricting should be stopped permanently. What cannot wait is flood relief and the people that need it. Do your job. Help the people. All of them.
Ms. Good, thanks for your testimony. When I recognized you, I'd used your name, but I didn't ask you to give us your name, just so it's on the record.
Joe Good.
Thank you very much. Senator King, you have the panel.
Thank you. And several people have mentioned the flood or other things that are issues, prominent issues before Texas. We always have prominent issues because we're a big, fast-growing state. As you know, the legislature always is working on multiple issues at a time whenever we're in session. And right now, I think there's 16 items that the governor has put on the call for consideration in this special session.
What's the most important?
Ma'am, please let me.
I'm sorry.
That's right. Okay. So the point I was trying to make is, I want to make sure everybody understood, and the public as well, is that without any question, the flood response is the most important issue before this legislative session. That said, we have a committee working feverishly on that, and in fact, you will see bills on the floor of the Senate, and if the Democrats return, on the floor of the House very soon, that try to address that. We've even had an on-site Senate hearing in Kerrville. I guess that was last week, ma'am. We've already had a hearing on site in Kerrville to gather information directly. So that committee is moving forward aggressively. That legislation is prepared and being passed out in the Senate committee. It'll be on the floor before long at all. Hopefully the House Democrats will have returned and we can pass legislation on the flood as well out of the House and get it to where it needs to be. But we're also working on other issues while we're here, on reducing property taxes and a number of other matters. And so this committee is assigned specifically the responsibility of redistricting. It is the only issue that we can work on. But the other senators are working on flood and the other matters that have been brought up before. We're very good at multitasking. And that is the way we always operate, multiple issues at a time through our committees. So we're doing our job. The other committees are doing their job. And we'll have flood response bills on the floor of the Senate quite likely next week for consideration. So that is all moving forward. Just wanted to make sure everyone understood the process. So thank you.
Senator, thank you. Senator Miles, you have the panel.
Thanks, sir. Ma'am, I want to thank all of you ladies for testifying. I'm sorry I didn't hear them all. But Ms. Good, did I hear you say racist redistricting?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
Thank you.
Senator, any other questions for our witnesses on this panel? We thank you each for being here. You're excused. We'll continue to call names, and we're calling names multiple times so that folks have an opportunity as they maybe have stepped out for personal matters or maybe in an overflow room. So for the next panel, we're looking for Anthony Gutierrez, Nick Mulberg, Lauren Pena, Becky Bullard, Sarah Beck, David Chinkanchan, John McKiernan Gonzalez, Sarah Cinco, Dr. Nancy Seaman. Seaman, thank you. S-E-M-I-N. And Denise Palacios. Is Denise here? Rocio Fierro Perez. Rocio Fierro Perez. Daniela Silva. Daniela Silva. Amy Camp. Is Amy Camp with us, wishing to testify? Welcome. I hope I'm not the first one to mispronounce your name, but I'll try to get it right next time.
It's Dr. Nancy Seaman-Lingo. Thank you. I'm here to testify. I represent myself, and I came down as a citizen of the state to look you, mostly you gentlemen, I know Paxton conveniently cut out. I'm here to look you in the eyes and tell you, and you all can look back at me. Hello, Senator Hughes. This is a power grab. We see it for what it is. It's a power grab, pure and simple. You're not fooling anybody. And Mr. Hughes, I had to listen to you earlier make arguments that a high school debate student could quash. What aboutism? What aboutism? What about Indiana? What about California? I don't care about that. And Mr. King, I say the same thing to you. You had the audacity to bring up Baker v. Carr, although you didn't say it. One person, one vote, and yet you are stripping that away from me. And I'd like to say one final thing to you, gentlemen. I know that you guys sit back there and you're smug and you're self-confident and you don't really care what Democratic voters in this state have to say. You don't fear us. But I want to tell you something. I'm a student of history. I'm a professor of history. And what will swallow you whole is MAGA. This revolution will eat you and it'll put your neck under the guillotine. And I strongly advise you to stop now in the interest of democracy. You're not safe. You can't hide. You think you're doing Trump's bidding. You're not. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is David Chinkanchin, and I serve as the Policy Director for Workers' Defense Action Fund. I'm here today to speak in opposition to the blatantly racist congressional map that you're proposing. Committee members, there's a national historic landmark in Selma, Alabama. You may have heard of it. It's called the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It's named after a pro-slavery white supremacist. 60 years ago, it was the site of Bloody Sunday, an astonishing event where civil rights advocates, including the late Representative John Lewis, peacefully marched in support of voting rights. They were met with brutality and violence perpetrated by Alabama state troopers under the orders of Governor George Wallace. As bystanders disturbingly cheered on, the state troopers attacked the protesters with tear gas. And as children, men, and women ran gasping for air, state troopers on horseback chased them down, dragged them to the ground, beat them with billy clubs, nightsticks, and plastic tubes wrapped with barbed wire. That was the heavy cost Americans paid for our voting rights. People gave sweat, tears, blood, even their freedom or their lives to ensure that we were meeting the promise of democracy. Their courage galvanized Americans, forced our country to reckon with the soul-rotting disease of Jim Crow, segregation, poll taxes, literacy tests, and the other injustices aimed at suppressing the vote and voices of Black Americans. This contributed significantly to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, by allowing Trump to take over Texas, by refusing to prioritize flood relief and disaster recovery, by dismissing the needs of working Texans and their families and instead using this special session to advance maps that pack and crack communities of color to silence their voices, you are diminishing the history, struggle, and achievements of the civil rights movement and undermining our democracy. You are pulling and dragging us back into a shameful era of discrimination that we can no longer tolerate or abide by. Members, we need our leaders to put Texas first, not to play political games with our rights and our futures.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. You can begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Camp. I'm the Communications Director for Ground Game Texas, and I'm here representing my organization and myself in opposition to SB 4 and the proposed redistricting overall. Ground Game Texas works to engage and empower voters across Texas by putting popular policies up to a vote using the tool of municipal ballot initiatives. We've seen over and over in our work that when people feel like their vote counts, they turn out. Our ballot initiatives engage first-time and infrequent voters, including young voters and voters of color, because they know when they vote, their vote will be counted. This redistricting farce aims to do the opposite. It continues the dirty work Texas leadership has done for decades, innovating ways to suppress and erase our voting rights, especially the rights of Black and Latino voters. As Texas goes, so goes the nation. Indeed. I've heard loud and clear from Senator King that he fully intends to ignore the testimony offered here today if it contradicts his goal of passing the shameful map with all due speed. I don't understand why someone would choose to devote their one wild and precious life to ruling over an unwilling people by rigging the game. As many witnesses have testified today, we could be devoting the full force of our efforts this special session to preventing another unnecessary tragedy like the recent flood deaths and devastation, much of it due to government negligence and incompetence. Instead, you choose to waste our time with this pathetic demonstration of servility to Donald Trump. If you pass this map, it will certainly make it harder for each Texan's vote to count. But to echo Senator Miles, we will not be cowed by this attempt to silence us. We will continue to organize, educate, and empower voters until we have a Texas that works for all Texans. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Ms. Pena.
Hi, my name is Lauren Pena. I live in one of the first housing projects ever implemented in the United States. It just went through gentrification. I'm actually walking a distance across from the Capitol here. My community's civil rights are being severely violated, so much so that I am the pro se litigant for a class action lawsuit against the City of Austin and the Housing Authority of the City of Austin. I want to read 5 quotes that I took today from people speaking up here. Your vote is your weapon. We don't have the representation we deserve to have. Our taxpayer funds are being wastefully mismanaged. People of color finally have the right to vote. The effects have gone on for years. Erase representation on purpose. Silence their voices when we need them the most. These were all said by Democrats being represented by Democrats. So that's why I am a conservative running for United States Congress, living inside federal housing projects, because the gentrification of public housing is detrimental for society. And I'm sick and tired of hearing paid lobbyists sit up here and tell you how they need to vote when they don't know what it's like to live in the brown and black communities. I live there right now. Right now, I urge all of you to accept my request to let's go on a field trip. Let's go around to the projects here in Austin, Texas. I can probably guarantee your safety. No problem. We can do it in groups. However you want to do it. I'd like to do it with the senators and the House of Representatives. Why don't you guys come see how these policies that you have made, implemented, and severely mismanaged on the Democrat side, because again, these are all Democrat policies that are harming my community. Now, as far as this bill, I am completely all in for it. You know why? Because either way, it doesn't matter if I'm running in 37 or 35. I have so many eligible non-voters that haven't voted in 40 years that are going to vote for me. So you guys are screwed, okay? I'm going to take this seat. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, I would like to say that this new map is going to encompass all the housing projects all around the city of Austin. So that means I get to go into every brown and black community that is disproportionately affected, and they're going to start voting for the first time in 40 years. Thank you.
Hey, members, any questions? Senator King.
Oh, thank you. And it's not specifically for the panel, so if this more just to help me. I really appreciate all the testimony we've had this morning. And I know we've got quite a few people left to testify. But it would help all of us, I think. Most of the testimony, in fact, all of the testimony this morning has been very much in generalities. If you have a specific concern about a specific district that you live in or you're aware of, you believe it does something wrong, either in terms of splitting a community of interest or dividing a population or something else, it would help a lot more if I had specifics and you said, hey, I live in District 23, and when you moved this in to this neighborhood or this county, it had the following impact. And we can look and respond to those type of things. But although I appreciate your testimony and I understand the generalities, where you can give specific testimony about districts, that's something we can work with a lot more. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator King. Members,
Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Senator Miles.
Mr. Chairman, Senator King, does that apply to people on the board, on the panel as well? Can I give you my information, how it's affecting my district, and you're looking to changing it? The same offer you just made to the witnesses.
So
it doesn't matter what district I'm in. This is a power grab.
We're not recognized at this time, but thank you very much for this panel, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Senator Miles,
thank you, ma'am.
Continue your point.
My question is, the same offer you just made to the witnesses, Senator King, does that apply to us as well?
So yes, of course, but I assume in your case that you would be preparing floor amendments or committee amendments with specific recommended changes for the committee to consider or for the Senate as a whole to consider. And
I would love to.
And so, yes, I think that's
I would love
the right
to
way
provide
to
something
do
for the
that.
committee to consider.
And I'd also say that, look, you're an exceptionally good person to work with, and I think we've always had a good working relationship. But my point was that if the witnesses want to testify saying, hey, here's what I would like changed in this bill, then the specifics help, and we can say, okay, I agree that created a problem, or I don't agree. But for the members, I think for us, it's probably more so preparing committee or floor amendments with recommended changes and all the stuff that goes with that. So I'm happy to consider anything, but at the end of the day, it's the committee members all will have to vote on this map coming out of this committee, whether it does or not. When it gets to the floor, any amendments that are proposed, all the members of the Senate will vote on that, on whether or not those amendments are adopted or not, and whether or not ultimately the map passes out. And so, yes, I'm happy to work with anybody.
Yeah, I thought, if my recollection is correct, I thought we were told as committee members not to provide any amendments.
No, and I'm sorry if there was any confusion, but I mentioned that again at yesterday's hearing. I walked through the amendment process for the floor, and then, of course, the amendment process for the committee had been communicated earlier. And then, of course, it always follows the rules that were in the SR5 that we all passed to guide this committee. So there, obviously, even as chair, I don't have the authority to tell somebody they can't bring an amendment.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if there was confusion on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any other questions or comments? We'll excuse this panel. Appreciate your testimony. And at this time, the chair will call Nick Malberg, Anthony Gutierrez, Becky Bullard, and Sarah Beck. We'll call John McKiernan Gonzalez. Is John still here with us? We'll give him a minute to come over if he is in an overflow room. Sarah Cinco. Denise Palacios. Rocio Fierro Perez. Daniela Silva.
Anthony Gutierrez will not be testifying today, sir.
Thank you for letting me know. We'll ask the clerk to please make adjustments to the witness list that Mr. Gutierrez has exited. We'll begin with you.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Denise Palacios.
Don't be nervous at all.
No.
You all, as witnesses, are doing outstanding jobs, and we really appreciate your time here today, and we're eager to hear from you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Denise Palacios, and I'm the Texas State Lead for Climate Cabinet, testifying against the revised redistricting map. Chairman, having the authority to do something does not make it morally correct or fair. In 2021, the Texas House, controlled by Republicans, the Texas Senate, controlled by Republicans, and the Texas governor, controlled by Republicans, a Republican, approved maps that diluted the political power of communities of color. And now we're in a politically motivated mid-decade redistricting effort after 30 years of Republican control in Texas, because the president, a Republican, wants the U.S. House, currently controlled by Republicans, to retain and consolidate their power because Americans are suffering as a result of bad policy at the federal and state level. And I fear that the actions led by this governing body, this special session, will lead us into an era of tyranny where politicians select their voters instead of allowing voters to elect politicians, all because Republicans are afraid of losing power. Republican legislators have passed legislation at all levels to defund social programs helping hardworking Americans to sell public lands and to end programs that would curb emissions to protect public health. And now you are shamelessly stretching our districts and further diluting the voices of every Texan who lives in the Mexican-American border community. I was born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley, and I am a Texan just like you, but the climate disasters and pollution that we endure and the culture and experiences of our communities are vastly different than those of Texans who live 250 miles inland outside of the checkpoints. And yet we're in the same district. Sixth-generation families in Central Texas face different issues and have different politics than binational first- and second-generation families in the valley along the U.S.-Mexico border. If the RGV is too far for Austin legislators to comfortably travel there for hearings, just imagine how much more difficult it is for my people to come here, or for a member in D.C. to travel back to Texas and then 300 miles across their district. Congressional districts typically hold about 700,000 people, and instead of dividing the valley into two, because we're 1.5 million people, our political power is thinned out into three districts, Tex 28, 15, 34, because the reality is that this is a racist political power grab.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for wrapping up, as you heard, the timer. Thank you so much for that. Yes, go ahead. Please provide your testimony. Welcome.
Before I start, I'm going to be giving my testimony in Spanish, just so you know.
Yo entiendo.
Mi nombre es Rocío Fierro Pérez y soy la directora política de Texas Freedom Network, una organización de madres, padres, personas jóvenes y líderes de fe que defienden el derecho y voto y merecen tener el poder de construir fuerza en las urnas. Estamos en contra de cualquier mapa que intente reprimir a las comunidades de color. Los líderes de este estado han intentado obligarnos a temerle a nuestros vecinos transgénero, a quedarnos en silencio mientras familias y vecinos migrantes son secuestrados, observar cómo se financian nuestras escuelas públicas y se convierten en escuelas religiosas, y a entregar el control de nuestros cuerpos al gobierno. Todos los días nuestro estado, nuestro país y nuestros valores fundamentales están bajo ataque. Este mapa está diseñado para silenciar nuestras voces y nuestros votos. Más de 2,000 personas se han presentado para tratar de detener este plan abiertamente racista. Hemos defendido a nuestras comunidades, nuestras juventudes, nuestros ancestros, nuestros derechos, nuestra integridad y nuestro futuro. Y la gente de Texas está prestando atención. El país está prestando atención. A tejanos y a quienes llaman este país su hogar, les digo esto. Estos legisladores se niegan a poner a usted, su electorado, por encima de su sede de poder. Eligen a la vircia sobre la justicia. Eligen el miedo en lugar de la igualdad. Lo incorrecto en lugar de lo correcto. La política sobre las personas y a Trump sobre los derechos de cada persona de Texas. El mapa actual de Texas ya es considerado el más manipulado por motivos raciales en todo el país. Y aún así tienen tanto miedo de nuestro poder creciente que están desesperados por robar aún más. No nos vamos a quedar callados. Personas de color, inmigrantes, personas LGBT, indígenas, pobres, con discapacidades y mujeres hemos luchado demasiado por el derecho de voto como para permitir que estos legisladores suprescan y roben nuestras voces. No importa cuántas luchas nos esperen, no podrán quebrarnos. Vamos a luchar, vamos a votar y vamos a ganar. No digan no a este mapa racista que no nos representa. Gracias.
Thank you for your testimony. And for the record, please state your name again. And
Rocío Fierro Pérez.
Very good. Here in opposition to the bill.
Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed.
My name is Daniela Silva. I'm the Austin Policy Coordinator at Workers' Defense Action Fund, and I'm strongly against this bill drawn up by unpopular Trump and his billionaire cronies. If a special session must be called, Texas want you to focus solely on helping us recover from a devastating flood and preparing for future natural disasters that are a matter of when, not if, they happen next. Instead, Abbott is using the special session to sell the people of Texas over to unpopular Trump's big business friends that use their money to pull the strings in D.C. Want to multitask? Why don't you focus on the real problems Texans face? Big banks and corporations are buying up homes so that regular families can no longer afford to become homeowners. Schools and hospitals are closing across rural communities. Roads and bridges are crumbling. Workers are having their wages stolen at unprecedented rates. Parents can't afford childcare. These are the problems our state elected officials should be addressing. If you're a Texan who faces any of these challenges, I know I am, Abbott and unpopular Trump do not care about us. If they did, they would make the lives of working class Americans better, just a little bit easier anywhere to live a decent life. But instead, they're wasting your taxpayer dollars to call a special session to draw new maps that make sure the most power-hungry politicians never have to give up their seats, to continue their plan to completely destroy democracy. They're shaping a country where the only voices heard across all levels of government are the voices of the uber wealthy. For those who fear big government, I hate to break it to you. This is as big as it's ever been, and it's at its very worst. Abbott and unpopular Trump are using this special legislative session to grab power by taking away our freedoms and avoiding accountability. This is part of a bigger plan. Their goal is to tell us how we live and who gets to participate in shaping their own state and country. It's not about freedom, it's about control. Texas Democrats and any Republicans with any sliver of a spine left, you have to break quorum and eventually vote no. This is a time for courage. This is a time to honor your duty to the Constitution and the people of Texas. This is a time to change the course of history and give us a fighting chance to save democracy.
Members, any questions? Thank you. We'll excuse this panel. Appreciate your time and testimony today. At this time, the committee will stand at ease for 5 minutes for a brief break and for the members to be able to respond to personal emails or calls or family, and we'll come back in 5 minutes to resume the hearing. Yes. Okay, members, at this time we'll continue our hearing on congressional redistricting. The chair will call Stephen Lawrence, Dan Chandler, Alan Primrose, and Tao Wang. Stephen Lawrence, Dan Chandler, Alan Primrose, and please help me pronounce your name.
Tao Huang.
Tao Wang.
Yes.
Forgive me for my mispronunciation. Sir, we'll begin with you.
Well, shucks, good afternoon. Hi, y'all.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and your position on the bill, and if you represent any interest other than yourself, please help us get that in the record.
My name is Alan Primrose. I represent myself. I'm here to speak against SB 4. I'm here as a lifelong Texan and a working class, of the working class. To refrain from the profanity. What the frack? Just to heck with the map, to heck with the priorities for adding to that, to heck with giving any ounce of cooperation to the fascist Trump administration, calling it what it is, as Melody had referred to previously. I'm really in disagreement with just the districting methods as a whole in general. To have things, as Mr. King said, are very jig-jagged, as well as just kind of hard to see things locally represented as well. I don't have an answer for how districts should be drawn, but no, this really looks good. I won't be taking any questions, and I'll close with a haiku. Land is eternal, state is not, neither am I, and so I give thanks.
Ms. Wong.
Committee chair, committee members, thank you very much for giving us this hearing opportunity. My name is Tao Huang. I live in District 37, represented by Congressman Lloyd Doggett. I'm here today to defend the AAPI community that I'm part of, Asian American and Pacific Islander. We represent 8% of Austin's population. And many of us live along the border of Travis County and Williamson County. But if you look at that area, our community has been divided in the proposed map into 5 districts. That's District 10, 11, 17, 34, and 37. If being compact is a consideration, according to Chairman Ken, please, putting us in one community and splitting us into 5 districts is the least compact example I can find. So I'm requesting and calling attention to fix this issue. I'm also here to defend the reason that I choose to be a Texan and an American, democracy. I spent almost 30 years in a country governed by a totalitarian regime. In that country, it didn't matter whether you vote or not. One party always won. The legislature existed only to rubber stamp the decisions that's already made by the top. And if a voting didn't go as expected, guess what happens? Sessions were dragged on until the result matched what was demanded at the top. And for people, if they have a very different opinion as from the top, guess what? The government will use the police forces and the military forces to chase them down. Does this sound familiar? That's not democracy. That's theater. And it is chilling for me to see some of it is happening in a state that I choose to live because of its freedom and because of its value. So please vote no to the Senate Bill 4.
Thank you for your testimony. Please begin, sir.
Hi, my name is Stephen Lawrence. I speak on behalf of myself and my organization, Clear Rule of Law. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lifetime conservative. I moved here 24 years ago to attend the University of Texas School of Law. One of the first things I did was co-host one of Greg Abbott's first fundraisers when he was running for Attorney General. I have always agreed with the principles of the Republican Party, and I've never voted against a Republican Sorry, I've never voted for a Democrat on a state or national basis. I'm here against the bill. Yes, I'm opposed to what it does to Fort Worth and Tarrant County and ripping part of my group away from their representative, Craig Goldman. But I'm here because this is the chance to look you guys in the eyes and say you have a choice to make here. You do not have to keep going down this path. You can do something and reject this map. We are here. I've never been a fan of the mid-decade process, but I've never spoke out against it. It's just political theater. You're here because the president wants 5 more seats. And instead of saying, come and take it, you said, here we go. That is not representative democracy. That's tyranny. And in the middle of the most radical change we've had in our, well, at least in my lifetime, you are ripping representatives away from their constituents and constituents against the representatives. And the Democrats are defending the Democratic Party, and you guys are defending the Republican Party. But there's the people, and that's what you're supposed to be representing. And for the first time, I'm happy the Democrats left the states. I thought it was theater before. There's still a bit of theater to it now. But at least they're defending the rule of law. And you, sir, are not. You are the redistricting king. Your name is king. And I'll just quote from Malachi 3:5 about God, what God said to those that deprive the foreigners among you of justice. I will be quick to testify against those who deprive them. I will put you on trial. So you're voting against the Lord, you're voting against democracy, and you're voting against the rule of law. And if you go to these rallies, these aren't radical bust-in people. They're people like me.
That'll be our time, sir.
And they're people who do the process.
Today.
You are taking on the people.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Lawrence, appreciate your testimony. All right, members, any questions? If not, we appreciate this panel very much. Ms. Wong, you had mentioned an organization in your introduction. Are you representing yourself or an organization as well?
I'm representing myself.
And so no organization. Thank you very much. I just want to make it clear for the record because we have to adjust the registration form.
Oh, I'm representing myself. I'm just I'm a community member of the Asian America Pacific Islander. Just ethnically, that's the community.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, at this time, the chair will call Dan Chandler and Lori Jensen. Also, Chrissy O'Brien. Is Levi King still with us? Please come forward, Mr. King. Is Mr. Chandler still with us, Pastor Chandler?
Dan Chandler?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm listening on this.
Oh, that's okay.
You know, there's a lag.
Yeah, come forward, please, sir.
Oh, God.
Lori Jensen?
I'm
present. Chrissy O'Brien. Is Chrissy O'Brien still with us today?
Hey, buddy. I'll get over here on a minute.
You want me to pull that chair out of the way, sir?
Let me see. We can pull it back a little bit like that.
No, yes, sir.
Maybe like that.
Can I ask a thing?
Okay.
Just procedural, that I know signs and things like that are not allowed, but there is a Confederate flag on.
That's a sign. This is not a sign. This is a flag. You want to stop my right to speak, and you're not recognized?
Yes, sir. Please, Mr. Chandler, please allow the committee to handle the quorum, and we'll proceed forward.
Oh, God.
We'll begin with you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Hello, committee. My name is Levi King, and I'm a rising junior in AISD. I am testifying on behalf of myself against this proposed redistricting. In a time where our very democracy is showing more and more patterns of a tyrannous society, it is alarming to see that Texas is bending its knee as well. Redistricting, an act that is supposed to occur solely after the taking of a census, should not take place to sway the majority of votes in favor of our president. Though it will not be acknowledged and will be denied continuously, This racist redistricting will disadvantage the minority population. Even though the Latino Hispanic population has become our state's majority, they, as well as other people of color, are still being underserved throughout all of Texas. Honestly, this map should not even be our top priority. Women have been losing rights to their own bodies, and our transgender friends are being discriminated against time and time again. Public schools are losing essential funding. Families are being separated due to deportation, and even healthcare is in a state of jeopardy. If I listed all of the alarming issues Texas citizens were facing at this time, my testimony would far expend past 2 minutes. The leaders of Texas must stop serving the desires of our president and focus on uplifting and benefiting the people residing in their own state. In all honesty, I was not expecting to testify today until hearing the strong words spoken by those in this room, especially Senator Miles, who inspired me to speak up and begin writing this testimony. Though I'm not old enough to utilize the important weapon of the vote, I will not let my First Amendment right go to waste. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate your testimony. Please proceed.
Hello, my name is Lori Jensen, and I'm here representing myself in opposition. I'm 65 years old as of this past March, and I am mad as hell, and I got that as clean as I could. And you know what? I'm far from alone, but you all know that. And what has brought this 65-year-old, along with her husband, who has done for 40-plus years all the things you told us to do so we could enjoy our retirement. Here we are, and we're here because you aren't listening to your constituents. None of you are. We women are pissed off. I'm sorry, French. We're tired of the old white men, mainly, telling us what to do and how to do it. That is not the land of the free, and we are the people, and we want the land of the free. We also want the people in charge to do their jobs. Every one of them took an oath. We, the people, demand they honor their oaths. The gerrymandering, yeah, it's wrong. Y'all know it. But we, the people, we outnumber you bigly, and you know it. There's one of your words. So in conclusion, we the people, baby, led by our choice, with integrity, and most importantly, liberty and justice for all. Remember those words, people? I'm done.
Appreciate your testimony. Mr. Chandler, please proceed.
Well, I'm the opposite. I think you guys bend over backwards listening to us. I've been listening to stuff, you get yelled at by us out here, and it's wrong. I think you're doing the very best job you can. You're cordial as I can even. I'm spending my time bragging on you, if you don't mind, because I think it's true. You're doing an excellent job. As far as me, I'm an evangelist. I'm retired. I could be fishing. I don't have to be doing this. But I got called to this effort, first about abortion, and now I realize there's lots of stuff that are lies the devil tells.
Repeat your name for the record, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Chandler. Yes. And I'm for the bill. I have this. This means don't tear down the flags, the statues, the monuments, the Ten Commandments, the Baby's Border, Alamo, the Cenotaph. Don't tear down America piece by piece, plank by plank, or we're not going to survive. They talk about the flood. Why don't you do something about the flood? You're doing something about the flood right here. I'm going to run out of time. It says, I will pour out my wrath on them like water, those that tear down the monuments. That's why I have that. Don't do it. But also, just to disregard the Word of God and turn away from Him. You know what? The best thing you can do for us is turn every district red. Do something for the black people, the white people, the brown people, all of them. Turn the districts red and take it away from these people. The only thing they do is scream race cards. Racist this, racist that, hater this, hater that. You don't like me because I'm black. That's all they've got. Pay me. You owe me. Go out there in Port Arthur or Houston or someplace and look and see what blue has done for black. The very best thing you could do is take it away from her.
Oh.
Take this away.
Excuse me.
And
what color do I look like, people?
Does that mean I'm done?
That's your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your testimony to each of you. Members, any questions? Everyone has their
This
time.
girl's kicking me. You see her?
Make their statement.
Miss O'Brien, thank you for your testimony today. Despite what you would, thank you, Miss O'Brien.
I tell her I'm a senior citizen. What you doing kicking me?
Sure.
Miss Jensen.
Senator Miles.
Brother Levi.
Hold her name is not Miss O'Brien, it's Miss Jensen.
Miss Jensen, I'm sorry.
We've cleared it up for the record.
Miss Jensen.
Hold a second. This panel is excused. You're excused. Thank you for your testimony. Members, are there any questions? Senator Miles has a question. I believe he wants to visit with Witness King outside the hearing room. Thank you both. At this time, we'll call forward Nicholas Wan. Is Nicholas still with us? Okay. We're going to call additional witnesses, so please be prepared. If you're in an overflow room, please pay attention because we're moving quickly to make sure we can get to all of our witnesses as they have travel plans and certain accommodations. Gary Bledsoe, please come forward. Mr. Bledsoe. Sarah Cinco.
Mr. Bledsoe. Did he walk out? He may have left. Bledsoe may have left. He was out. He may have left.
Is Miss Sarah Beck with us today? Please come forward. John McKiernan Gonzalez, please come forward. Sir, can you tell us your name?
Yes, my name is Nicholas Wan.
And ma'am?
Chrissy O'Brien.
Chrissy O'Brien. Got it. Great. We'll begin with you, Miss O'Brien.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in opposition to SB 4 today. My name is Chrissy O'Brien. I'm representing myself and AFSCME. The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees represent public employees around the state who provide critical services our communities depend on. I am speaking up for our members today, many of whom could not be here. They are at work. AFSCME represents working members and retired state employees who reside in the areas that are being targeted in these maps. SB 4 stands to weaken their voices and threatens their access to fair representation. I ask you to please consider their rights, the impact this redistricting will have on their communities. I urge this committee to oppose SB 4 as these maps stand to weaken the voices of working people. Finally, I ask that you use this special session to prioritize more pressing needs facing Texans. Thank you.
Appreciate that testimony. Sir, please begin.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Wan. I want to thank you all for being here today. I am from Nassau Bay, part of the Houston area in the 36th Congressional District. It is incredibly concerning that there is even talk of redrawing congressional district maps. No census was conducted, and 2020 maps are still being reviewed by federal courts, so why are we here today? The proposed maps are an insult to Texans across the state. You can easily say that the maps before today and in 2021 are not racial discrimination and colorblind, but effectively they are discriminatory, and lawmakers must look at racial data to ensure minority communities are not negatively impacted by the redrawn lines. At some point, you can't deny reality any longer. What matters are the results of your actions collectively as a legislative body. If the maps are drawn to keep as many minority-majority communities without proper representation and give even more power to white majority communities, then it is a major issue and the reason for the massive contention you see today. Which brings us to another issue. If the DOJ has directed the state of Texas to redraw the maps, under what purview is it done? Is it so-called racial gerrymandering the actual reason, or is it giving carte blanche to cut up the major cities to further diminish the representation of our black and brown districts? Why does my district span halfway across the state to the border of Louisiana? Citizens furthest east have very little in common with the residents of Nassau Bay. You have had the opportunity to fix this to properly represent the citizens of Beaumont, Jasper, and Cleveland, in turn to properly represent me. It seems to me that the Republicans of the state of Texas are putting party before country. I've seen over the years gerrymandering to consistently favor Republicans and white voters who tend to vote more for Republicans. As legislators, it is imperative that you represent all Texans, regardless of what you, the governor, or the party think of them. But you all know that the rhetoric and the capitulation of the Republican Party of Texas to the federal government would make the likes of Stalin and Kim Jong-un blush. The maps are inherently authoritarian and the exact opposite of small government. If you cannot win these districts on merit or policy, the only solution is to hold on to power, is to cheat, lie, and push the boundaries of lawful and ethical behavior. I am embarrassed that this special session is putting so much time and effort into redistricting and other trivial matters over focusing on actual, impactful, meaningful issues. Ultimately, districts need to represent the people living there, not split a community in half and include them with hundreds of thousands of other Texans halfway across the state. Let the federal court rule on the 2021 maps and try to have some decency and humility with how you conduct legislative business as to not harm and lessen the representation of some Texans you don't like and increase the voting powers of others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Members, any questions? We have Mr. Bledsoe. Mr. Bledsoe, please come forward, and we will proceed with your testimony, sir. Thank you for being here and your patience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I submitted written testimony. I don't know if you have questions. I think the point I want to make is it's very clear to me that this is a process that doesn't really have integrity because I think that the people have not been heard. The map does not reflect what the field hearings revealed. And with the timing of the map, it's very clear that the map had already been drawn.
Yes, sir. Right there, would you restate your name for us?
Gary Bledsoe, President of the Texas NAACP.
Got it.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thanks, Senator. Appreciate it. So therefore, I think I'll stand on the statement, but I'm really saddened here as a Texan that I come in front of you today, and I see what I feel is an overtly racist map, a map that seems to take us back in time to time when people who look like me did not have representation, that our bodies were used to count for members of Congress, and you take away 2 or 4 congressional representatives for people of color and or African American in this state, and you actually the 3 people who would probably lose their positions here under this map are people of color, 2 African Americans and 1 Latino. It's really sad that we're here. So this is not about anything other than race and the continuation of what's occurred in our state. We do know that many years ago, white citizens in our state went to the United States Supreme Court 5 times in 26 years to stop black people from being able to have a vote in our state. And that's really tragic, and this is nothing but a continuation. And I will say this, it occurred under Democrats, and it continues to occur under Republicans.
Thank you, sir. Members, any questions for these 3 witnesses? Senator Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a question for Mr. Bledsoe, and so it's really a point of clarification, Mr. Bledsoe. Explain to me what a minority opportunity district is, and then second to that, tell me what the ability to elect district is. There's two different kinds, okay? And I'm going to make sure I get a definition from you, and then I'm going to talk to my chairman about it.
Senator, you asked one of the most important questions because in the litigation that we are involved in now and in the litigation from the last decade, it became very clear, and the court rulings that actually exist now describe, for example, the 9th, 18th, and 30th as opportunity districts, or ability to elect districts. So those have a certain level of protection that others do not have, and the same with the 29th. And so that DOJ letter mischaracterized the nature of those districts. They are not coalition districts. And so, as Professor Katz said the other day, if someone had submitted that as part of a project in her class, she would...
Let me stop you right there. You helped with the litigation to make those, to create those districts, correct?
There was litigation
so you would know.
Directly involved in.
You would know.
The courts held that these are ability to elect districts, and the experts for the state acknowledged under oath,
right?
Okay, that they were ability to elect districts.
Right.
And I might even say with the 33rd, the whole issue that was raised in the letter, the DOJ letter about the 33rd, had already been answered. It was a court-drawn seat, so Congressman Veazey's seat was drawn by the court.
Mm-hmm.
And with Congressman Veazey's seat, they said this is not a coalition seat.
Mm-hmm.
This is a naturally occurring seat as allowed by Bartlett v. Strickland,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what this is.
Okay.
But people wanted a way to go after the black and brown seats, so they mischaracterized them. And so when you go forward today, you'll know and you'll understand you're destroying seats that have the highest level of protection, okay, under
in
our
the land,
Constitution.
in our land, in
Yes.
our country.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you're stating today to this body that the DOJ letter obviously did not take that into consideration, or they wrote it wrong.
They clearly wrote it wrong.
They wrote
I don't think they understood it, to be very honest about it, and they completely mischaracterized the Petaway case.
Gotcha.
Those coalition districts are just very different. Coalition districts are legal, though. That's the other thing that they got wrong. They're not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be obligated to draw one up under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in the Fifth Circuit now,
Mm-hmm.
though other circuits disagree. But the United States Supreme Court has never decided that particular issue.
Okay. And the other, the ability to elect district.
Okay.
Same?
And those are the same as the opportunity seats, and so those are the ones that are given the highest priority, because you don't need to join with any other group, that your group has the power to be able to elect people in that district. And so that's what's protected. People are mixing up the Jingles 1 standard in terms of trying to bring that into some constitutional standard about, and as if that black people can only have a seat if you have 50.1. But if 45% of whites can elect a candidate of choice, they can have a seat. Right. But black people need 50.1, which is absurd. That's not true.
And to your knowledge today, has there been any legislation or any laws changed in the federal government that would change the position or the protection of these two seats?
No.
No.
Nothing has changed. They're clearly opportunity seats. And in the current litigation that we're now involved in, Senator, the state has acknowledged in the current litigation.
Right.
So I don't know how the state's going to defend this map. Right. When in the litigation in El Paso, they said these are opportunity seats.
Correct.
And so now all of a sudden there's something different that can be just torn away and taken from the minority community.
So our Voting Rights Act that's been watered down over the last couple of years, they didn't affect these two. They didn't affect these two, did they?
No, the cases that I mentioned all come from Republican majority panels. So these weren't Democratic panels or what have you. These are 3-judge panels that had African American, that had Republican majorities on them that held that these were opportunity seats. And I'm saying that Ken Paxton's office has acknowledged that in the litigation.
Okay. And just last question, just for clarification, to your knowledge, there is nothing that has changed in any laws that you know of, the protection of these two of these seats?
No, they still, none of the recent Supreme Court cases touch on that issue.
And the DOJ letter addressing these, in your opinion, would be something, an illegal act?
Oh, it's inviting you to do something that's illegal. So to the extent that you attempted to comply with the act,
right.
The act invites you to do something that's unconstitutional.
Okay. So can I change my direction to the question to the chair, to the author of the bill?
Senator Miles, you're recognized.
Thank you. Senator King.
Two questions, Senator King.
Senator King, you've told us time and time again that you would, whenever you got a bill, that you would scrub the bill for its legality. Mm-hmm. Am I correct?
Yes.
You told us that multiple times, that you would scrub the bill for its legality and to make sure that it was right by all laws of government. And did you do that before you submitted? I think you stated earlier today that you did that before you submitted SB4.
Yes, before I decided to file SB4 as a companion to HB4, I asked that it be reviewed thoroughly by our counsel. They reviewed it, and I understand the House counsel had also reviewed it, and both concluded that the map was legal with regard to all applicable law.
Can you hold right there, sir?
I'm holding.
And you hear the statement from the author of the bill. What do you say to that?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things that was very disturbing in the litigation was that, in the past sessions of redistricting, Senator,